What we are looking at now is just what's happening here on the roads. Of course, earlier, as you can see, as we get here, the National Traffic Police have just pulled up here their van. But of course, earlier, the driver that they will be taking now was arrested for overloading, and he had 23 learners in his vehicle. And unfortunately, we also told that the driver also doesn't have a permit, and so multiple transgressions in this regard. And this is, of course, him now being arrested, and he will be taken away. So I did have a word with him as he was being arrested, and he said that he has applied once again for the permits, but of course hasn't yet received it. And I asked him about the overcrowding, and his response to that was that he actually was helping out another transport operator who couldn't bring their children here this morning. So he took over that load as well. And whether that's the truth or not, I guess we will not know. This is one of the buses that had also earlier been impounded. As you heard from the Emir, from the Minister, Barbara Creasy, over 60 vehicles now have been impounded. And it's been absolute mayhem because some of the smaller, the younger children have been crying when Umalume is arrested and taken away by the police, like the one that we saw who was handcuffed. Those children were absolutely inconsolable because you can imagine they are scared, they don't know what's going to happen, Leanne. But unfortunately, the law has to be enforced. And of course, many questions still need to be asked about oversight, because in terms of oversight, surely this is not a today occurrence. These vehicles are vehicles that transport these children every day. So how difficult can it be, especially when you are working with a finite group of people, to make sure that they are actually compliant and that they adhere to the laws? But as you can see, this particular vehicle, the tires, it's an absolute mess. And I can't even imagine what's going on the inside of the vehicle. But this is a bus, and it was chock-a-block filled with children this morning. And as you can see, more vehicles here. And the number is growing, Leanne, and we will get another update as we move along. These are all vehicles that have been impounded. We've been out on these streets since 5:30, and you can see the law enforcement officers, they are now the ones driving all of these impounded vehicles. Because one of the other things is, where are you taking the vehicles to, sir? Can I just come around? Can I just come around? Where are you taking these vehicles?
To impound them in Benoni.
In Benoni.
Yes.
And how much would the owners have to pay to get them out of impound?
We don't have information about
Okay.
that.
All right. So you heard there, they're taking all of these vehicles that have been impounded to an impound facility in Benoni. And this has, of course, caused quite a bit of traffic mayhem as well this morning, Leanne. I'm looking at this vehicle, and you can see the door panels there, nothing, just peering inside through the window. There's no backrest for the middle seat. So these are the type of vehicles. You can see here a piece of wire that is used here to hold this particular mirror in place. These are the coffins on wheels that we are actually putting our children into every morning. And so for now, I'm going to hand it back to you, Leanne. And 60 vehicles and counting here from Lenasia this morning, as the Department of Transport, along with the Gauteng Department of Education, are staging this blitz here this morning on scholar transport, just to make sure that the vehicles transporting children are actually roadworthy and that the operators have the necessary permits. But for now, back to studio.
Yeah, well, Sakina, I mean, this is clearly a major problem. I mean, if you look at that number, 60 vehicles impounded in one blitz, it's got to tell you there's a major problem, because how many cars have actually stopped? It almost feels like every car that was stopped has been impounded. I mean, this is just unacceptable. And the amount of kids that are being transported in these vehicles, I mean, we're talking is this in excess of 1,000, 1,500, 2,000 kids? I'm not even sure, but just in those vehicles alone that have been stopped because of the overcrowding and the amount of kids that are being transported, as well as buses that have been pulled apart, aside there. But